You bolted on that new exhaust or dropped in a piggyback tuner because you wanted more sound, more power, or just a bike that felt a little more yours. But some of the most popular Honda modifications quietly push the engine outside the limits it was actually built and calibrated for, and the damage rarely shows up right away. Done right, mods and a healthy engine can coexist for years. Done wrong, they shorten that engine's life without you ever seeing it coming until the repair bill arrives. Here are 7 Honda mods that are killing engines when they are installed without the tuning, installation care, and patience they actually require. Mod number 1. High-flow air filters installed without rejetting or remapping. A high-flow air filter is one of the cheapest, easiest modifications a rider can bolt onto a Honda, and on its own, it is a perfectly reasonable upgrade. The problem shows up when riders install it and stop there, assuming a filter swap is a simple, consequence-free change. Letting more air into the intake without adjusting the fuel delivery to match shifts the air-fuel ratio leaner than the engine was designed to run, whether that is on a carbureted CB500F era bike needing a rejet or a fuel-injected CBR650R that benefits from a remap or fuel controller to compensate. A leaner mixture burns hotter, and sustained lean running increases the risk of detonation, particularly under load or at sustained highway RPM, which can damage pistons and valves over time. Detonation itself is often invisible to the rider in the moment. It does not always announce itself with a dramatic knock the way it might in an older car engine, and by the time symptoms like a rough idle, hesitation under throttle, or unusually high exhaust temperatures show up, some amount of wear has typically already occurred at the ringlands or valve edges. The performance gain from a filter alone is often modest anyway, since the factory intake and fueling were matched as a system, meaning riders chasing a noticeable difference frequently end up disappointed with the sound and throttle response change, while unknowingly running leaner than the engine was ever calibrated for. This is especially common on commuter-focused models like the CB500F or Rebel 300, where riders install a filter expecting a meaningful power bump, and instead get a slightly louder intake note and an engine working outside its intended parameters for months or years without anyone noticing. If a filter swap is worth doing, it is worth pairing with a proper fuel adjustment, whether that means rejetting a carbureted bike at a qualified shop or having a fuel controller professionally programmed for the new airflow characteristics. Skipping that second step is where this mod goes from harmless to genuinely risky for long-term engine health, and it is often the very first modification a new rider makes, which means it sets a pattern for how they approach every mod that follows. A quick conversation with a shop that services performance Hondas, even a short one before the filter is ever installed, is usually enough to know whether a given bike and filter combination needs a rejet, a fuel controller, or nothing at all. Mod number 2. Full aftermarket exhaust systems without fuel tuning. A full exhaust swap is one of the most visible and most common Honda modifications, and it carries the exact same tuning requirement as an air filter change, just with a bigger impact on airflow. Replacing the factory system, especially the catalytic converter and muffler, on models like the CB650R or Africa Twin significantly changes back pressure and exhaust flow characteristics that the factory ECU mapping was built around. Riders often notice the sound and the modest weight savings immediately and assume the job is done, not realizing the engine is now drawing air through a completely different exhaust path than the one Honda's engineers tuned the fuel maps for. Running an aftermarket exhaust without a corresponding remap tends to lean out the mixture in the same way an unmatched air filter does, and the two problems compound quickly when riders install both at once, which is extremely common since filters and exhausts are often marketed and sold as a matched performance pair, sometimes even bundled together by the same aftermarket brand. The heat generated by a persistently lean running engine does not announce itself the way a check engine light might on a car, since most Hondas do not throw a fault code for a fueling condition caused by a physical modification the ECU has no way of detecting. Riders simply keep riding, the bike sounds great, pulls fine on the street, and the wear accumulates quietly in the top end over months and years of riding, usually surfacing as a gradual loss of low-end torque, slightly higher operating temperatures, or eventually a compression drop that only gets diagnosed once performance has noticeably fallen off. On touring and adventure platforms like the Africa Twin, where riders log long stretches at sustained highway RPM, an unmatched lean condition has more time to do damage per mile than it would on a bike mostly ridden around town. Budgeting for a professional dyno tune alongside the exhaust purchase, rather than treating the pipe as the entire upgrade, is the difference between a mod that adds character and one that shortens engine life. And it is worth remembering that the cost of a proper tune is small compared to the cost of a top-end rebuild. Some exhaust manufacturers even publish which of their systems have been tested and mapped for specific Honda models. And starting there, rather than the loudest or cheapest option on the market, is a simple way to reduce the risk before the pipe is even installed. Mod number 3, modified or removed airboxes. Some riders go a step further than swapping the filter element and remove the airbox snorkel, drill it out, or eliminate it entirely in pursuit of intake sound and a perceived performance edge. This is a more aggressive version of the same problem as a simple filter swap, and it carries a bigger risk. The factory airbox is not just a housing. It is engineered to control the volume and velocity of air entering the throttle bodies, smoothing out turbulence and helping the fuel injection system deliver a consistent, predictable mixture. And Honda's fuel mapping is calibrated around that specific design on models across the lineup, from the Hornet to the CB500F. Removing or drilling out the airbox changes intake velocity and can introduce turbulence the factory intake was designed to avoid, on top of the same leaning out effect that comes with any unmatched increase in airflow. And the throttle response can actually become less predictable rather than sharper, since the injection system is now reacting to airflow patterns it was never mapped for. In more extreme cases, an open or heavily modified airbox can also let in more dust, water, and debris than the factory design accounted for, particularly on adventure-style bikes like the Africa Twin or Transalp that see dirt roads and stream crossings, putting additional wear on internal components like piston rings and cylinder walls beyond just the fueling issue, since abrasive particles reaching the combustion chamber accelerate wear far faster than a rich or lean condition alone. Riders considering this mod should understand it requires a full custom tune to be done safely, not a stock ECU paired with a louder intake note bolted onto an otherwise unchanged fuel map. And even then, the airbox is one of the harder components to modify without professional level tuning support. And ideally, a dyno session to confirm the resulting air-fuel curve is actually safe across the full rev range rather than just at the RPM the rider happened to test. For most street riders, the modest sound gain from an opened-up airbox simply is not worth the tuning complexity and the added risk of dirt or water intrusion it introduces, and a well-chosen slip-on exhaust delivers a similar audible payoff with far less downside. Mod number 4, aggressive aftermarket ECU tunes not matched to the bike. Piggyback fuel controllers and full ECU flashes have become increasingly accessible for models like the CBR 65 OR and CB65 OR, and a properly done tune built specifically around a bike's exact combination of exhaust, filter, and intake modifications can genuinely improve both performance and reliability by correcting fueling that would otherwise run lean. The trap is generic or aggressive canned tunes downloaded or purchased off the shelf without accounting for the specific modifications on that particular bike, or tunes built for track use with race fuel in mind applied to a bike that spends most of its time commuting in stop-and-go traffic on regular pumped gasoline. A tune calibrated for higher octane race fuel run on standard pump gas can trigger detonation the ECU would otherwise manage safely, since race fuel resists knock at higher compression and timing than pump gas can support. A tune built assuming a full race exhaust applied to a bike with only a slip-on muffler can throw the fueling off in the opposite direction, running rich enough to wash oil off the cylinder walls or foul spark plugs over time. Ignition timing is part of the equation too, since many aggressive tunes advance timing to chase peak horsepower numbers. and advanced timing on an engine that is not also running cooler, cleaner combustion from matched fueling increases knock risk further still. Riders who install these tunes based on forum recommendations or a generic download rather than a professional assessment of their specific bike, exhaust, filter, and typical fuel are essentially gambling with engine health for a performance gain they often cannot fully verify without dyno time to confirm it. A tune is not a universal upgrade. It is a precise calibration tool built around one specific combination of hardware and conditions. And treating it as one-size-fits-all is exactly how a modification meant to protect the engine ends up damaging it instead. Reputable tuners will ask detailed questions before writing a single line of a map. What exhaust is installed, what fuel the rider actually uses day to day, what filter is fitted, and how the bike is typically ridden, and a tuner who skips those questions and simply hands over a generic file is not doing the kind of work that keeps an engine healthy long term. Mod number 5. Oil cooler and filter relocation kits installed incorrectly. Oil cooler upgrades and filter relocation kits are popular additions for riders pushing their Honda harder, whether on track days with a CBR 500R or in hot climates on a touring-oriented Goldwing. And a properly installed kit can genuinely help manage oil temperature under sustained hard use, since oil that runs too hot loses viscosity and protects moving parts less effectively right when the engine needs it most. The risk comes from incorrect installation, particularly with relocation kits that add extra hose length and fittings between the engine and the oil filter. Every additional fitting is a potential leak point, and a poorly sealed connection, whether from an incorrectly torqued banjo bolt or a worn crush washer, can lead to a slow oil leak that goes unnoticed until oil pressure drops enough to cause real damage, sometimes only discovered when the rider notices a burning smell or an oil spot under the bike after it has already been low for a while. Beyond leaks, incorrectly sized or routed oil lines can restrict flow compared to the factory setup, which defeats the purpose of the upgrade entirely and can starve the engine of oil under exactly the high-load, high-heat conditions the kit was meant to help with, essentially making the problem the rider was trying to solve worse instead of better. Vibration is another overlooked factor, since oil lines routed too close to hot exhaust components or moving parts like the front sprocket can chafe through over time if not properly secured and protected. Riders installing these kits themselves without prior experience in plumbing pressurized oil systems or using lower quality kits with undersized fittings and thin-walled hoses are taking on real risk for a modification that is genuinely valuable when done correctly. Having a relocation kit installed and pressure tested by someone experienced with the specific model, rather than treating it as a weekend garage project, is what separates a legitimate performance upgrade from a slow, hard-to-diagnose oil starvation problem. Checking fittings for weeping oil after the first few rides, and again periodically afterward, is a simple habit that catches a developing leak long before it becomes a low oil pressure warning at speed. Mod number 6. Skipping proper break-in after engine internals work. Riders who go further into performance work, installing upgraded cams, pistons, or other internal components on models like the CBR 500R or CB 500F, sometimes treat the post-build break-in period the same casual way they treated the factory break-in on their first day of ownership, which is to say, they barely think about it. New internal components need a proper heat cycle and controlled break-in period to seat correctly. Piston rings in particular need time and the right combination of load and varied RPM to seal properly against the cylinder wall, a process that depends on brief periods of higher load alternating with lower load rather than either constant light cruising or constant hard running. Riders who take a freshly built engine straight to redline and hold it there, or conversely baby it at low, steady RPM on the highway for the first several hundred miles, can both end up with rings that never seal fully, leading to oil consumption and reduced compression that persists for the rest of the engine's life, essentially locking in reduced performance right after paying for an upgrade meant to increase it. Symptoms of a poor break-in often do not show up immediately. They surface gradually as slightly blue-tinted exhaust smoke under hard acceleration, more frequent need to top off oil between changes, or a compression test some months later that comes back lower than it should for a freshly built engine. This mistake is particularly costly because it happens right after a significant investment in parts and labor, meaning the rider has paid twice, once for the upgrade itself and once for the mistake that undermined it. And correcting a poorly sealed ring pack typically means tearing the top end back down, which erases most of the labor savings from doing the build carefully the first time. Following the specific break-in procedure recommended by whoever built the engine, rather than assuming a general internet break-in guide applies universally across every combination of parts, is essential after any internal engine work, and it is a step that costs nothing but a little patience and a few hundred careful miles. Keeping a written log of exactly how those first few hundred miles were ridden and sharing it with the builder if a problem does show up later also makes it far easier to diagnose whether a future issue is related to the break-in or to something else entirely. Mod number 7. Stacking multiple mods without retuning between each one. The most common way engine-damaging modification actually happens is not any single mod on this list in isolation. It is riders installing several of them in sequence, an exhaust 1 month, a filter the next, a fuel controller sometime after that, without ever stepping back to have the combination properly tuned as a complete system. Each individual change might seem minor enough to skip a dedicated tune for, especially when a rider has budgeted for the parts but not for a tuning session on top of them. But the cumulative effect on air-fuel ratio compounds with every addition, and a bike running 3 or 4 unmatched modifications can end up significantly leaner than any single change would have caused on its own. Sometimes lean enough to produce audible popping on deceleration, a telltale sign of unburned fuel and air combusting in the exhaust rather than the cylinder. This is especially common on popular platforms like the CB65 OR and Africa Twin, where a thriving aftermarket makes it easy to add one part at a time over the course of a riding season, financing each individual piece as a separate small purchase rather than planning the build as a whole. Riders often do not notice a problem because the engine still runs, still starts, and still makes power, sometimes even more power than stock, at certain points in the rev range, which feels like confirmation the mods are working as intended, even while the engine is running leaner and hotter than it should across other parts of the range. The wear happens quietly in the background, showing up eventually as reduced compression, increased oil consumption, or in worst cases, a damaged piston, well after the rider has forgotten which specific mode might have been the tipping point, and by then, it is nearly impossible to isolate which single change caused the problem versus which ones were fine on their own. The fix is straightforward even if it requires patience and a bit more upfront cost. Treat the full combination of modifications as one project rather than a running list of individual purchases, and have the finished combination properly tuned as a complete package on a dyno rather than piecemeal after each individual part goes on. The bottom line: none of these 7 mods are off limits for a Honda rider who actually wants to build a faster, better-sounding machine. What separates a smart upgrade from an engine-killing one almost always comes down to the same thing: pairing every airflow or fueling change with the tuning it actually needs, respecting break-in periods after internal work, and having the patience to treat modifications as one complete project rather than a series of shortcuts added whenever budget allows. A filter, an exhaust, a tune, an oil cooler, none of them are inherently dangerous, and plenty of riders run all of them for years without a single problem. The difference between those riders and the ones nursing a tired top end a season later usually is not the parts they bought. It is whether they paired those parts with the tuning, installation care, and break-in discipline the modification actually required. Take care of that step, and these mods can add real character and genuine performance to your Honda for years to come. Skip it, and the engine will eventually let you know, usually at the worst and most expensive possible time. If you found this useful, consider subscribing for more straight talk Honda maintenance and modification advice.